So when you think of an ancient conqueror, you probably picture, fire, destruction, total domination. But what if I told you that the guy who built the largest empire the world had ever seen did it with something totally different? Not fear, but tolerance. This is the story of Cyrus the Great, a king who completely rewrote the rules of conquest. Look, the usual playbook for conquest back then was brutally simple. You burn cities to the ground, you enslave the people, and you smash their temples. But Cyrus, he just flipped that script completely. Where others saw people to crush, he saw resources to manage. Think about it. Restoring cities creates loyal citizens, freeing people turns potential rebels into allies, and rebuilding temples, well, that earns you some serious goodwill with your new subjects. This wasn't just him being nice, it was a revolutionary and really smart way to build an empire that could actually last. And here is where the story gets truly wild. This quote, it's not from some Persian chronicle. It's from the Hebrew Bible. You've got a Persian king claiming that the god of a people he just conquered gave him a divine mission. How on earth does that happen? Well, to get it, we have to dig into one of the most remarkable relationships in all of ancient history. Okay, first, let's look at how Cyrus's actions earned him this incredible sacred title in Jewish history, a title that was never given to any other foreign king. So when Cyrus conquered Babylon, he found the Jewish people living there in exile. Now, instead of just treating them as another prize of war, he saw a displaced people. He issued this famous edict, not only letting them go back home, but actually using the Persian treasury to pay for the rebuilding of their holy temple in Jerusalem. And for this, the prophet Isaiah calls him Messiah, which means anointed one, basically an agent of God's will. I mean, that is an unbelievable honor for a non-Jew. So this whole picture of a benevolent ruler kind of begs the question, right? How did a guy like this also become one of the most successful military commanders in history? Kindness doesn't exactly win battles. So what was his secret to building the world's first true super empire? The speed of his rise is just wow. It's breathtaking. In about a decade, Cyrus goes from being a minor king to the master of the known world. He starts by overthrowing his own grandfather to unite the Medes and Persians. Then he takes down the famously rich Lydian kingdom, and for the grand finale, he conquers the jewel of Mesopotamia, the great city of Babylon. And what he built was the Achaemenid Empire. We're talking a territory stretching from what's now Turkey all the way to India. It was, quite simply, the biggest political entity on Earth at that time. And this wasn't an accident. It was the work of a brilliant military mind that mixed brute force with just pure cunning. He was incredibly clever. Okay, get this. At the Battle of Thrambra, he was facing the Lydian army whose cavalry was legendary, a huge threat. Cyrus knew their horses had never seen or smelled camels before. So what did he do? He put his baggage camels in the front line. The unfamiliar sight and smell completely freaked out the enemy horses. They bolted, and just like that, the Lydians' greatest strength was totally neutralized. That's not just fighting, that's outthinking your opponent. But his real masterpiece had to be the conquest of Babylon. The city was thought to be impenetrable. It had these massive walls, and the Euphrates River ran right through it, acting like a giant moat. So instead of a long, bloody siege, Cyrus ordered his engineers to dig a massive canal upstream to divert the river. The water level dropped to barely a stream, and his army just waded right through the riverbed, under the walls, and took the city in a single night. Babylon fell with almost no fight at all. Genius. Okay, so conquering the world is one thing, but holding it all together, that's a whole different ballgame. And this, right here, is where we see Cyrus's true genius. Not just in winning an empire, but in actually running it. His key innovation was this system of satrapies. He basically divided his huge empire into provinces, each run by a governor, or satrap. This wasn't just about delegating tasks, it was a strategy. By letting local customs, laws, and even local leaders stay in place, he gave people very little reason to rebel. It was a brilliant way to manage a massive, super diverse empire without it just falling apart. But Cyrus knew that giving one guy, a satrap, that much power was a huge risk. So he came up with this genius system of checks and balances. In each province, power was split three ways. You had the satrap, the civil governor. But a separate general controlled the local military, and a state secretary handled the official paperwork. And here's the brilliant part. The general and the secretary didn't just report to the satrap, they reported directly back to Cyrus. No single person could ever get powerful enough to become a threat. So smart. And we actually have physical proof of his governing philosophy, this incredible artifact called the Cyrus Cylinder. It's really a masterclass in political messaging. On one hand, it's pure propaganda. It totally trashes the old Babylonian king and claims the local god Marduk personally chose Cyrus to rule. But it also lays out his official policy, sending displaced peoples home and rebuilding their temples. It cemented his reputation as a liberator, not just another conqueror. So let's put it all together. A brilliant general, a genius administrator, and a surprisingly tolerant ruler. What does all that add up to? Why is Cyrus the Great a name we still remember 2,500 years later? Maybe nothing says it all more than the title he earned, the Father. And here's the key. This wasn't a name he gave himself. It was given to him by the very people he had conquered. That tells you everything about the respect they had for a ruler who acted more like a protector than a tyrant. His influence is just immense. The Cyrus Cylinder is often called the world's first charter of human rights, this ancient ideal of justice. His policy of religious tolerance became the bedrock of the Persian Empire for centuries. And he became the blueprint for future leaders. Alexander the Great admired him, and even one of America's founding fathers, Thomas Jefferson, owned 2 copies of a biography of Cyrus to study his leadership. How wild is that? In the end, his own words, said to be written on his tomb, show this profound humility. After all the conquests, all the power, he's addressing some future stranger, acknowledging he's just a man, and asking only for his final resting place to be left in peace. It's such a powerful final statement from the man who ruled the world. Cyrus proved that true strength isn't just the power to conquer, but the wisdom to be generous in victory. It's a lesson in leadership that feels just as important now as it did 2,500 years ago. So you have to wonder, what can our leaders still learn from him today?